And the topic of today's talk is, did I ask for this? Because what comes up in the New Thought teaching is that we keep on saying things like you create your experience through your beliefs. And when something happens in our experience that just sucks, then the question is, did I ask for this? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. No, in that you can use the phrase "not that I'm aware of." Did I ask for this? No, not that I'm aware of. I am not aware of having requested this experience, which I'm not enjoying showing up in my life. So in that case, it's no. I didn't ask for this. And on the other hand, everything is consciousness. Everything is consciousness unfolding, and that's the consciousness that we're aware of, and our subconscious, which we are not necessarily aware of. So, did I ask for this? Yes, no. And we turn to the teaching, to the Science of Mind textbook, and actually my favorite page in the Science of Mind textbook to help explain this. What it says is, it's been proved that by thinking correctly and by a conscious mental use of the law of mind, we can cause it to do definite things for us through us. By conscious thinking, we give conscious direction to it, and it, consciously or unconsciously, responds to our advance along the line of our conscious or subjective direction. So according to Ernest Holmes, yes. And then later on the same page, he says, we can use it correctly only as we understand and use it according to its nature. Hence, it follows that if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then, according to principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does. Only it does according to our belief that it will not. So no. And if you think that's confusing, it's completely reasonable. That is one of the more confounding things that's in the Science of Mind textbook. And it is also, as far as I'm concerned, one of the keys to this whole idea of creating our experience according to our beliefs. Not that I'm aware of. So sometimes we think that we've got it all handled and we know what we want to be creating and we're going along a path, and then something different shows up in our life and it's like, what? Did I ask for this? And the example that I'm going to give is my daughter, Victoria. Victoria grew up in New Thought. When she was age 4, we went into our first New Thought spiritual community. We were living in Tampa, Florida. And she just connected with all of the people there. We're still friends with a bunch of them. In fact, Jeff Lesser, who played music for us a few weeks back, was a member of that community. And Tori wasn't particularly even able to follow along with what the teaching was. So she sat in the back room and colored while the rest of us did parts of the program, and then she came out for snack time and so forth. And she continued growing up. We moved to the Philadelphia area, and she made some friends at the first community that we were really seriously involved in. She was very unhappy when we left there and took her to a different spiritual community when she was about 12. The question was, did I ask for this? I had some friends over there in New Jersey, and now we're here at this place in Pennsylvania, and it's awful. Why is this happening to me? And there were 2 other girls who were there who she could have been friends with, but they all hated each other. It was awful. And there was an opportunity to go to a teen camp, a winter teen camp, and they had no interest in traveling together, but it was February, and the teen camp was in Key West, so they all said, well, okay. So Victoria and Emily and Kate all got on the airplane with us, and we went down to Miami, and then we drove down to Key West, and they're starting to connect and find out the stuff that they had in common before we even got there. And on the way back, as we were changing planes in Atlanta, they had been so impressed over the weekend, and it was such a profound experience of connecting with the teen group in Fort Lauderdale and the other ones who were involved there, that they said together, we want to have a teen group just like the one in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know if you've watched The Secret or other movies where somebody says something profound and spiritual and metaphysical, and like the air shimmers and there's that ring of change that happens. There was one of those in the airport in Atlanta. It's like, whoa, something really strange happened here. And it was very powerful. And starting the next week, we introduced the teen group. We're going to be doing this. And we started with the 3 of them and another 4th friend who had been off playing soccer the week before. joined the group. And another kid who had never been to that spiritual center before showed up that day, and he wound up being a best friend and one of the leaders in the teen program around here and nationally. And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. Got to be best friends. Tori got into national leadership in that program, and it was an example of the teaching. This is, did I ask for this? And yes, I'm opening myself up to these new possibilities, and the answer is yes. And that, while it was going, was a wonderful experience. At the same time, Victoria was in high school. I remember when she was really little, probably 3 or 4, we would go down to the park in Florida where we were living, and I'd put her on the swing. And she'd say, "Push me, Daddy." And I'd say, "Okay, and wait till you get to high school if you want me to push you." But it turns out she pushed herself much harder than I ever would have when she got to high school. She was focused on being successful and being an achiever. There's an international baccalaureate program in town, and she got into the school that offered that program, which is a really rigorous, all AP classes, and the smartest of the smart kids. And she did that, and she was participating with flying colors. So did I ask for this? Well, yeah. Then again, it was really stressful. There was a lot of anxiety and pressure that was involved in that. So did we want her to be under stress or feel that level of pressure? Well, no. But the creative process is yes, and as we're engaging in that and inviting that new experience to come about, the creative law says yes. And going back to the textbook, the law we did not create, the law we cannot change. We can use it correctly only as we understand and use it according to its nature. So, did I ask for this? Yes and no. This is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter in because of our doubts and fears. It's not a punishment imposed upon us by the Spirit of God, but an automatic result of failing constructively to use the law of God. So yes and no. Am I calling this into myself? Tori was getting towards the end of her high school time, and it's time to look at colleges. And she did this at the 150% level, the way that she does everything. And she's engaging in this. And at the same time, she's deeply involved in the teen program and the teaching and being a teenager. And so she got into the National Merit Scholarship Program, and she made her way through the process with that, and she made it into the accepted group, and then the quarterfinals and the semifinals, etc. Started applying at colleges, applied to half a dozen different colleges. A few she didn't actually care about at all. The ones that she said that she did were University of Pennsylvania, which is the one where she really wanted to go, and Tulane and Temple. And she was a teenager, so she had a little bit of an attitude, and she had heard me discussing my business travel. And nothing personal to Hannah, who lives in New Orleans, I had discussed the fact that I'm not a fan of New Orleans. And this was mostly because all of the business travel that I did to New Orleans, the people who I was traveling with, all they wanted to do was go to the French Quarter and get drunk. And I was not particularly interested in doing that with them. What I like doing is getting out in nature and being able to be vigorous and get some exercise. And of course, the business travel was in July and August, and by 7 o'clock in the morning, it's 90% humidity and 90 degrees, and it was unpleasant. So that was the attitude that I had about New Orleans. And Tori picked up on that. And the reason that she applied at Tulane was basically a little jab at Dad. So, even growing up in this teaching, she's, she still managed to carry the attitude. So, of course, what would happen? She really wanted to go to the University of Pennsylvania. And usually about 20 or 30 kids in her high school were accepted at Penn. And that year, there were 3 who were accepted at Penn instead of the usual 20 or 30. And she was not one of them. And she was devastated. She was devastated. Did I ask for this? Well, no. And yes. My opinion, and this is just my opinion, because she was under such stress and anxiety and pressure upon herself going to her high school. Had she gotten into the University of Pennsylvania, that would have ramped up to an incredibly high level, and in the long run would not have particularly served her well. Now, this is not the story that the 18-year-old wants to hear from dad as they're not getting into the school that they want to get into. So did I ask for this? No. Not that I'm aware of. But there's something bigger that's going on around here. She got into Temple University, and she also, by the way, won a National Merit Scholarship. You undoubtedly can see where this is coming from. It was at Tulane. So she was not able to make use of that. And she wound up going to Temple, which was her second choice in Philadelphia. The question is, did I ask for this? Well, no. And yes. And along the way, in the teen program, where she's been so involved in the teaching and with her friends and with connections, and she'd been in the national leadership, and she decided going into the 2010 teen camp, I'm done with this, I don't need to do it again. And then, for whatever reason, while she was there, she was inspired, and she says, yeah, I need to raise my hand to get into national leadership, because they were bringing two organizations that had split up 50, 60 years earlier back together. And she saw herself very much as being an agent of healing to bring that about. Unfortunately, those two groups that were coming back together, who really didn't have a plan for how they were going to do that, got involved in some politics, and she wound up being political fallout from that merger. And she lost her position in the teen program, and also lost her friends, because they had to choose between Tory and this teaching that they'd grown up with. Did I ask for this? No. And what's going on? Because that is unhappiness that's unfolding. She gave up on the New Thought teaching. She knew that it wasn't working for her. It wasn't doing what she wanted it to do. She ignored it. She got to the point where she couldn't talk to me about it, because it just brought back all those old memories. And for me, that's very sad, because I've made this a large part of my life. Did I ask for this? No. Not that I'm aware of. And yes, because there's something going on in consciousness. So she was at Temple, and going through her experience there at Temple University. And by the way, if you hear any echoes of your own life in any of this, that's why I'm telling the story. You know, there's the good news, bad news, who can tell story, and this is the same story. You know, and there are the other stories that we get to tell about newness unfolding, and things being unwritten. Tori was at Temple, and she managed to get through Temple almost completely in 4 years. A characteristic of Temple University is that they let their students change majors, and when they do, they lose all the prerequisites that they've taken. So a 4-year degree at Temple can take 5, 6, or 8 years, and she was only one class that she still had to complete after graduation. And that was her capstone. It was like a 6-week program at the beginning of the summer. And going into that, as she's going to her graduation, it's like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? And she says, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I know that I don't want to live in Philadelphia. I am absolutely sure that I don't want to have anything to do with journalism, even though I have a journalism degree, and I don't want to have anything to do with showbiz. She was very clear about that. She was very, very clear about what she didn't want. And at her graduation, she received her diploma and shook hands with Dan Rather. All right, for somebody who doesn't want to be in journalism, that's not a good sign. And then during that next 6 weeks, she was contacted by somebody who had been working at doing a show, hosting at the Temple University radio station, doing the arts and culture thing, and he wanted to talk to her, and she thought it was about her thesis for her capstone project, and he said, no, I've been following your writing for the last couple of years. You're great. I'd like to hire you to be the executive producer of my arts and culture TV show on WHYY. Okay, well, let's see. She said no to Philadelphia. That didn't work out. She said no to journalism and showbiz. That didn't work out either. So she wound up as an executive producer and spent 6 years working on that program, and she's still friends with the host, with Jim Cotter, who's her mentor still to this day. Did I ask for this? Well, no. And yes. She'd put herself in the position where she could have a success which transcended the successes that she thought she was going to have. She thought that she was going to not live in Philadelphia, that she was not going to be involved in journalism or showbiz, and she wound up doing exactly the opposite. And she knew that she didn't really want to have anything to do with the New Thought teaching anymore, being triggered by me every time I start talking about it, which, makes going deep on conversations a little difficult for me. And after she left the TV show, she started doing freelance work, and as a freelancer, she found herself in need of health insurance and no really good options. She had a health plan that was, her mother described as awful. Basically, if she got sick, she'd have to be a victim of the medical system. So she needed better health insurance, and as she looked around for the different possibilities, there was a great option for her to get insured through the New Thought Philadelphia insurance plan, because it's one of the things that we have. And so she started chipping in for her own insurance, and she says, is there any way I can get this for free? And I said, well, we need a digital media coordinator, because Kate was doing that and she just stepped down. Tori said, oh, I'll do that if it'll pay for health insurance. So Tori is now doing all of our social media posts and talking to me every week about the stuff that's going on at New Thought Philadelphia, because she wants health insurance. Did I ask for that? Did I ask for my daughter to come back so that she get health insurance? No. And yes. Invite her. I'm open to whatever way that possibility can come about. So when we ask ourselves, did I ask for this? Because we're looking at the circumstance or the situation that we're in, and we say, this can't possibly be what I was asking for. It's possible that there's something bigger that's going on. Ernest Holmes on page 52 is talking about the law. It must and will respond to everyone because it is law, and law is no respecter of persons. We are surrounded by an intelligent force and substance from which all things come, the ultimate essence, in the invisible and subjective world of all visible and objective forms and conditions. It is around us in its original state, ready and willing to take form through the impulse of our creative belief. It works for us by flowing through us. It works for us by flowing through us. The law is always saying yes, even if it's saying yes to something other than we think we're asking for. And as a perfect example, I will give you my son-in-law, Alex. Alex and Tori got together some number of years back, and their relationship grew and developed and unfolded. And Alex was only had a few things that he was certain of, and he carries a lot of certainty. One is that he would never marry a blonde. Another is that he would never live in Manayunk, the snooty, pretentious little suburb or the outlying area in Philadelphia. And under no circumstances would he ever allow a dog to sleep in his bed. Well, Tori's a blonde, as you guys probably know. They spent a few years living in a lovely place in Manayunk. And Tori's dog, Higgins, not only sleeps in bed with them, but is a blonde. So, did I ask for this? Yes, no, maybe it doesn't matter. So as you are going through your life, when you're experiencing things that are joyous, be grateful for it. Be grateful for the wonderful things that are showing up. And when something shows up that makes you say, did I ask for this? Look inside, look beneath, look within. See if there's something in there that's resonating with you, that's calling you to something new and something different. Maybe there's something in there that you normally would have just skipped over, that's got a new invitation and a new possibility. Maybe looking at something that you would describe as undesirable has a little glimmer inside of it. Maybe even in the pain, there's a gift. Be open to those new possibilities. Let the love flow. Be that bright light that you are, because you deserve it. You deserve it. So it is.
Just do it. Don't talk about it. Don't put it off. Just do it. Just say it. I'll speak my truth. I'll state my needs. Just say it. Just claim it. Act as if you know it's done. Just claim it. Just breathe. Breathe in faith. Breathe out fear. trust myself, trust my heart, just trust. Love, I'm gonna give love, I'm gonna show love, just love. Faith, I have faith, all is well, I have faith. Just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it. Come on, do it. I'm gonna give myself a gentle push. I'm gonna start today. Hey, yeah! Every time I criticize and focus on my flaws, I don't realize that I am worthy and capable, and I deserve to have it all. So now's my time to rise and shine, go for the dreams that are in my mind. Take one small step and not be afraid, cause with faith and love, I've got it made. Just do it.